Good to see you. And I'd like to start with just taking a moment to connect with all of you visually and you with each other. And so feel free to just turn to the gallery view. And so we can just take each other in. And I don't know about you, but I felt a moment of panic when I was waiting and waiting and no one was coming. No, the host. I'm not sure what happened, but maybe we all felt that. Maybe you all felt that too, right? Like, was it the right time? Am I in the right place, right? Yeah, am I in the right, and that, triggering that little person inside, that little girl or little boy, like, am I doing it right? Have I done something wrong? So I don't know if you have those feelings or if they're active for you. But if so, let's take a moment to befriend those and just take a breath, breathe some love around that. We've landed in the right place at the right time. And maybe that's because we're all right. We're all right. Oh, blessed beings, so good to see you. Oh, good to see you. From East Coast to Texas to the West Coast. Yeah. And I'm all the way out here in the Pacific Ocean right now on an island. And so just taking each other in across this miracle. It's a miracle that we can see each other across space and across time zones, across space and time, that we're transcending space and time here to be together in the timeless moment. And that's what I'd like to explore together today in this Dharma Sunday, is this timeless moment, the timeless now. So as we start to practice together, let's do that. Let's drop into the timeless now. We can even start that right now, just being here together. Okay, so you can feel free to move to speaker view if that's better for you, or to turn off your camera if that's better for you. And for practice, getting settled for practice. And we're going to practice together some meditation for about 30 minutes or so. And then we'll take a little stretch together and move into the talk, the Dharma talk teaching. And then at the end, this is for people that are new to Dharma Sunday, we're going to open it up for you all to share and to reflect. We'll reflect together on this topic of the timeless now, and maybe other questions you might have about meditation practice or about the Dharma. So let's settle in our practice space and turning your gaze. Sometimes helps to turn the gaze away from, so that we can be in touch with our environment. And just going to be making sure that we have, oh good, you can hear the gong. We'll begin our practice with refuge. Refuge being just calling into the space, your field of support. And however that looks this morning for you, guides or beloved friends or family, teachers, those who have helped you walk the path. And maybe one of those is more radiant or prominent for you this afternoon or this morning. And just bringing that being, that person, that guide, transcendent energy to mind and receiving love and witnessing from that presence right now in the here and now as if they were really here with you. Seeing you in your deepest authenticity and seeing or witnessing your noble intention. And within that field of radiant support, this refuge field, just coming down into your feeling body. All the way down to where your earth body meets the earth below. feeling yourself there supported and held. And how this body is naturally stable and grounded. Anchored. Noticing the coming and going of breath. Breath breathing you. Letting the breath draw you into this present moment, landing there on each out breath. As you land more fully in this moment, exhaling into the fullness of this present moment experience, just opening out, opening the heart on an exhale. On the next exhale, opening your ears, on the out breath, opening to all the body's sensations. On an out breath, exhaling, your eyes a little open, let in some light. Exhaling the mind open. Exhaling into the here. Exhaling into the now. So I'd like to invite you to stand and stretch, and you can do your own stretch, or you can welcome to stretch with me. We're coming to standing, and we'll inhale the arms up and grabbing a wrist, exhaling over. And inhaling up, grabbing the other wrist, exhaling over. Inhaling up and nice stretch in the side body. And up and stretch on the other side. And inhaling up, stretching towards the sky. Exhaling down. And we'll rotate the head nice and slow. Grounding through the feet, rotating the head. Nice, slow, full rotations. As you come forward, dropping that chin in towards your Adam's apple and towards your neck, and the other way. Full rotations. And moving that into our shoulders. Inhaling the shoulders up and back, up and back. And from back to front. Bringing that rotation into the rib cage and rotating the rib cage around. Keeping those hips stationary and the other way. Hips staying where they are. And now hands kind of on the tops of your hips, taking a wide stance and now rotating the hips fully around. Those knees bending just a little bit. And the other way. Bringing that rotation into our knees, rotating the knees around. And the other way. And one more. Inhale up. And exhaling down over those legs and all the way down to the ground, all the way down to the floor, letting the top of the head reach to the floor, reach to the earth, and getting a nice stretch in the back of those legs, turning the head from side to side. Little swaying, loosening the hips. And inhaling up. And doing a little inhaling up and exhaling down, exhaling the arms down and inhaling them up. Exhaling the arms down. And you can let them go down any way you want. You can inhale them up and exhale them down. Or you can inhale up to the side and exhale them down, using the breath to move you. And maybe flying like a bird as you bend the knees. How would a bird lift? And exhaling down and inhaling up. And exhaling down. And a little shaking of the legs, shaking of the arms, shaking of the torso, shaking of the face. Anything you need to let go of post meditation. Shaking it up. Shaking up and waking up. Shake and wake. Oh, yeah. Oh, feels good. And coming back down to seated. So this morning, this afternoon, or evening, depending on where we are, I'm exploring this timeless present. And how do we get there? How do we dwell there? How do we explore? How do we make sense of? How do we land in the timeless present? So in Tibetan practice, in these teachings on the great wholeness, there's this notion, and I say the great wholeness, what do I mean? I mean these teachings on this non-separation of self and world. Teachings of the great wholeness are also these teachings of the non-dual. How to move from living in a separate self and all the isolation and all the contraction of that into the opening into the relational world of non-separation from what and who and the larger context of our world. How do we live in that? But in those teachings, there's a notion that there's not just three times, not just a past and a present and a future, that there's a fourth time. And in some ways, you might think a fourth dimension time, that there is such a thing as a linear, or there seems to be, our experience, our human experience is that we are on a continuum. We're on a continuum of uh, time that's marching forward, this linear continuum. And that's that linear continuum assumes that there was a past and that there will be a future, and that right now there's a present, and that things move in this directional way. But in the teachings of the Create Wholeness, there is this notion of a fourth time. And the fourth time is the timeless time, a timeless now. And in that notion of the fourth time, there being this fourth time, there is a kind of uh, eternal moment. And that eternal moment is not tied to a linear timeline. This timeless now is beyond the linear. It is mm, always unfolding. And the practice of meditation is an invitation to explore, to drop into, to develop experience of, or a relationship with a timeless now. And that timeless now is always happening. So let's take a moment to just experience that, to think about that. Like, what does it mean that this is all I have? When we think about it just from a logical perspective, from a mm, perspective of our experience, we can't at this moment live in the past, right? We can't go back and change the past as much as we might yearn to do so. And, much of our time is spent remembering what happened and sometimes ruminating on what happened, reliving what happened, and making sense of what happened. But even if we wanted to, we couldn't go back and live in what happened. And we can't go back and reclaim the relationship, say, that we had with someone who's passed on. And there's some part of us that deeply resists that, right? And that part of us, I think, is holding on, right? We hold on to the past, and we hold on to those who have been in the past. And no matter how much we want them to be here now, they can't be as it was. There's a flow happening, right? And we can't move backwards in time. And at the same time, same thing. So in one ways there is a past, there is a history, and that history lives in our body mind. It lives in our memories, and it lives in an embodied way in our body as the traumas that we carry, the memories that we carry, um, the also the love and the joy that we carry from those past experiences and those past developmental, you say, milestones that have helped us become more resilient or closer to our nature, valuable these past thoughts, these past memories, and these relationships that we've had that are so precious to us, so dear to us. Um, so there's a aspect of past that lives in the present, in our embodied experience and in our nervous system and in our memories, right? Um, but in terms of actually inhabiting that past, we can't do so. We can value it, we can acknowledge it, but we can't live in it, right? And so there's that, you know, and then there's the future, a future that we also spend a lot of time anticipating and planning for and worrying about, the future that we think is coming. And the future, too, as we know from our experience, it is not something that we can actually make happen. And even the deepest aspirations we have for our future are only that, only that. They are aspirations, plans, wishes, um, or sometimes fears. We fear what might happen in the future too. And what we fear may or may not come to pass, as we know from our experience, time and time again, that we plan, we anticipate, we worry about, we fear, and then what we thought was going to come to pass doesn't actually happen. Right? So we know that from past experience, but we still live as if there were a future. We do. We live in that. We lean towards the future. And so just inviting you to think about how you lean. How do we lean into the future? How do we fear and assume what is going to happen next? And how much time do we spend every day leaning towards that future? Knowing, even knowing logically that it's not going to necessarily come to pass in the way that we think, but somehow when things don't go as planned, we act as if it's a surprise, right? We do. We act as if, how did that happen? Yeah. Mm. So we're living a lot as if there were a past, and as if by thinking about it, we could change it, and as if there were a future, and by planning for it, we can make it happen. Um, but there's also this, this present moment that seems to be sandwiched between the past and the future. Um, but that present moment is really the only place that we can actually dwell, can actually live. Can't live in the future, can't live in the past. Future has not yet come, and the past has gone. It's over. But what we do have is this precious moment. And at first, when we start to explore that, that's what we're doing in meditation. That's what we're doing. When we start to explore that, this present moment, the only thing that really is, we begin to see there is a steadiness here. There is a steadiness here in that this is always available. As long as we're alive, this moment is available. And I say available in the sense that refuge here is happening now. Whether we like it or not, we are only here now. And that steadiness, that this is happening, that isn't happening, and this isn't happening, but this is happening means that this is without time, in the sense that that is gone and this is gone, but this is timeless. This is eternal in its availability and also in some of its qualities. This is spacious. This is awake, or we might say uh, luminous. This is self aware. And this is in flow, right? In the sense that present moment is dynamic, not static, right? When you start to live in this, you see movement is happening, sound is happening, um, and feeling is happening. There's a sense of movement in the steadiness of what is here now. So, our meditation practice is so much about that, just coming home to what is here now. And so let's take a moment now to just come home to that freshness. I just want to do that as a short set. It's just coming home to this, coming home to this, coming home to this. So that is the practice, coming home to this. And I might say coming present, coming present, because we are so often going away from present, going into future, going into past, in some ways fictional. We're going into an imagined future, and we're going into a past that we cannot reclaim. But what we don't realize, I think, when we're doing that is we're also going away from this home. We're going away from this home. And we need to do that to function in the world. Yes, yes. But we don't need to do that all the time. All the time. We can learn to come present again and again. And there's keys to that. So how do we do that? Keys. We need some keys because it's very easy to spin in our lives away from this. And so meditation, is one of the first keys, slowing down. Meditation is a coming home to this again and again, but we need to slow down in order to do that because we're speeding, we're on the timeline, we're on the linear timeline, and we believe so firmly in its reality. I do. I do. I believe that there's going to be a tomorrow and a next day. And like, we made our New Year's resolutions. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be true to the practice of coming home. That's a New Year's resolution for me, to stay true to this, coming home to this. And that means, right, creating a life where coming home is possible, and that's slowing down to do that and getting off the linear timeline enough, or often enough to reclaim the preciousness of this present moment. So there's something about slowing down. And then timeless present. How do we get there once we've slowed down the body? The body. Because the body, the mind is very much living in this linear timeline. The body is very connected to the timeless present, in the sense that the body isn't thinking, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to take my next breath. The body is in its full connection to now. What is needed is an inhale. And the body is not thinking about that. The body is enacting the inhale, enacting the exhale. It is in its full connection to its needs and to serving those needs. The body is programmed to be in the here and now. So listening to the body, feeling into the body, gets us right back into this timeless present where the body lives. And turning our attention then to the senses. John Kabat-Zinn wrote a book that I just love the title of, Come to Your Senses. Come to Your Senses was the name of the book. And I love that title. Of course, what it means is if you come to your senses, if you start paying attention to what you're hearing right now and what you're feeling right now, and including all the complication, our emotional tensions right now, or what I'm feeling in the back right now, or what I'm seeing with my eyes right now. If we pour our attention into the senses are in that timeless present. They will bring us home. The senses will draw us into the here and now in a way that the mind has a little more trouble doing. The mind is so task oriented, and it's often on that linear timeline that the conceptual mind is on the linear timeline. Now, non-conceptual mind, it's another story. Conceptual mind is on that linear timeline. So it has trouble drawing us home to the present, but the senses are not thinking, they are not planning. The senses are right in the present moment, feeling and absorbing this array of richness that is a display of the now. They are participating in that display of the now. And so coming to our senses can draw us home into the timeless present. Body, feeling, home to the timeless present. Slowing down gets us closer to it. Coming into body gets us into it. Coming to the senses gets us really into it, because the senses are also opening us to the richness, and the richness piques our interest. And if our interest is there, we will come home again and again to the timeless present, because we're like, where else would I want to be? This is awesome. A lot is happening here, and it's rich, and it's beautiful, and it's diverse, and it's textured. So coming home. And and then there's conditions that bring us home to the timeless present. And so let's think for a minute about the conditions that bring us home. What are those conditions that bring you home to the timeless now? And those conditions can be varied. And I don't know right now, I'm going to check in whether our chat is enabled, but if it is, I'd like to invite you to type in to the chat some conditions that help you come home to the timeless present. And those conditions are extraordinarily diverse. So just inviting you, if it's possible, and I know it will start happening, it's possible that because we had this snafu this morning with the hosting or maybe there was a miscommunication. It looks like our host didn't. Oh, there we go. Laura's here. Thank you so much, Laura. I wasn't sure who was here.
I wanted to let you
Thank
know,
you.
and I didn't want to interrupt the meditation. Yeah, make sure that you select everyone at the top of the chat
Okay.
box. Everyone, so we see it. Yeah, good.
Thank you so much, Laura. So,
Sure.
what helps us come home to the timeless present? And I see nature in there. So, I'd like to invite you to put it in there. Rainstorms, the ocean, grounding in the body. Yeah. Music. Yeah. Hey, Jim. And coming back into and feeling my body, especially from the ground up. Yes, yes, being in nature, pausing, nature, stillness, nature, poetry, curiosity, appreciation, sound, movement, barefoot in the garden. Love this. Rainstorms. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing some of those um, conditions that help us come present. Making art. Yeah, that's awesome. So, beginning to reflect on those conditions that bring you home to the timeless now is a practice. Beginning to list them for yourself, to value them, to make them a part of what it means to be in your practice. It's not just something that happens on the cushion, not just something that happens when we slow down and we enter a state of meditation, although meditation is invaluable for me, still invaluable, deeply, and I think will be for the rest of my life to help me remember to come home. But once you've touched that truth, this is the timeless now. This is what it feels like, what it opens up into. Then off the cushion, all the things that we do to spark that presence. And I want to insert here some of the things you've listed: nature, um, and music, and the making of art and poetry and barefoot in the garden. Some of these things are also things that bring us into relationship. So thinking about how the relational field, like being in relationship with trees and earth and sounds and birds. And I was thinking also, as I was reading this, for me, one of the things that brings me into the timeless now is also deepening in human relationship, is to begin to drop in to the timeless now in relationship with another person who's dropping in with you, and that there's something powerful about that. And that's what gets activated in meditation retreat too, when we're in a group of people, even like we are right now, when we all drop into meditation together, like we did at the beginning of this Dharma Sunday, we are enacting a collective experience of the timeless now. And then it's so much easier to dwell there because you're with others who are dwelling there too. And when you begin to connect to that sense of the field of Sangha in timeless now, it's like, oh, I don't have to do this by myself. Or if you engage, say, in gardening with a friend, or walking in nature with your dog, it's you and your dog now experiencing the timeless now. And there's a collective draw into it too. So something about relationship and the timeless now, and getting out of time together, stepping away from the linear and into the eternal together is such a powerful practice. So, something about the relationship with others and the relationship with our dogs and the relationship with the trees and the birds, that they're dwelling in that timeless now with us. So, we start to set up a sangha of the timeless now that we can experience not alone, but together, together. And also in these examples that you've provided here, like being barefoot in the garden, curiosity that Cindy offered there, also the importance of wonder in accessing the timeless now, the importance of this quality of being of openness, curiosity, openness, and um, freshness, eyes of freshness. So, in these teachings on the great wholeness, sometimes at a quality that is mentioned of wakefulness itself, right? Waking up itself, Bodhi, enlightenment, awakening, is this quality of soma. Soma is the word, Soma, that we find in these Tibetan texts. And soma means freshness. And the idea of soma is that every moment is new. So we think we've experienced the world before, but we haven't. In the timeless now, there was never a past, and there never will be a future. When you really are accessing the timeless now, there never has been anything else, and there never will be. So, this moment that you're experiencing is absolutely new to you. And what's going to unfold is completely new because there never was a past to make it old. So, Soma is the name for that. And what we're accessing in the deeper levels of our meditation practice is this perception that this moment is the new moment, and it's the only moment that you've ever experienced. And it's the only moment that you ever will experience. It's right now. And even to drop into that recognition is makes the world fresh again. The world becomes soma, which means bright, incredibly interesting because we've never been here before, and also full of wonder, like this wonder of, I wonder what is unfolding, what will unfold in front of me in this timeless now. What's next? So a curiosity, and next as in next instant of now, of timeless now. What's going to happen in the timeless now, not knowing necessarily. So there's an element there of wonder and of freshness and of a childlike opening into the possibilities, which are infinite in this timeless now, infinite possibility in this timeless now. Um, Soma, wonder. And and so how do we get there? Still exploring that, valuing, prioritizing our relationship with nature, prioritizing our relationship with the things that get us here, with movement, with all the things you put there in the chat. So finding out what is it for you, and then returning there and making that into your practice and into your priority. And also, I would say I'm adding that here discipline, because there takes some discipline to do that. It takes some discipline to make boundaries and to make time for being timeless. So making blocks in your life where you allow yourself to be timeless, because we do operate, our society operates, and our work often operates on a schedule. The work operates in the boundaries of a linear time, but our practice should be stepping out of the linear time. So sometimes we need to make time in our linear world for the timeless, non-linear practice. We need to do that, and that takes discipline. And in a way, what you're doing, it's radical and it's countercultural and it's even revolutionary to make time for the timeless. It is revolutionary, and it's not where our world generally lives. It's not what um, our wider society necessarily values. If you were to say to your boss, I need my timeless time, you might have an amazing boss, but they might say yes if they're an amazing boss, but they might also say, what are you talking about? We need you to produce, we need you to perform, which might be true in the relative world. But really, there's a revolutionary aspect of valuing this eternal present, because the more you value this eternal present, the more you are coming into relationship with your most authentic being, with the more that you are, the more that you are lives in the timeless now. So as you enter into a relationship with the timeless time, you're also befriending the deepest Buddha in you. The deepest Buddha in you lives in the timeless time. We might say consciousness, not the conceptual mind, but our non-conceptual consciousness, our primordial awareness lives in the timeless now. So if we want the relationship with the primordial awareness, we can get there by slowing down and entering the timeless now. And as we explore and deepen in the timeless now, we're also discovering some part of us already lives there. And so as we find that part of us, oh, that part already lives here, we're changing our relationship with who we truly are. We're seeing who we have always been this one who is in the timeless now. We've always been that. So our our coming home to the timeless present is opening our coming home to the more that we are. And this more that we are meets everything differently than the conceptual mind. It meets our work differently. It meets play differently. It meets the other, whoever the other is, differently. And in that meeting of the world differently and meeting in the other differently, we are opening the door to living in a different world. And that different world would be, were it living there, more slower, for sure, more satisfied with what is, less uh, aggressively seeking what it thinks it needs, would be a world that wasn't living in collective greed, wasn't living in collective delusion, and in collective uh, aggression. So a world that was living more in peace with being here now, whatever here now is. It's revolutionary and it would change the world. We're the world living that way. So so it sounds, like we're talking about our own peace bliss here, but really our own peace bliss is a template, finding our relationship to a different way of being in time is a template for what our communities could do and what the world could do in a more enlightened society. So there's something about this that isn't just about this, just about this small crucible. This small crucible is something that we can work with for sure, but it has profound implications for what could happen on a more collective level. So, so that practice that we're doing is a practice not just of changing the self, but it's a potential to change everything, to change our relationships, to change how we work, and to change how we operate as a culture, as a society. It's an alternative to the linear timeline and to the speediness and the speeding up and that leaning forward, which is so intense at this time in history, that leaning forward and leaning back into this. So these are my thoughts on the timeless present for this morning. And it's been a part of my own New Year's resolution is to really make time for the timeless. And I want to open it up to all of you right now to hear from you, reflections or comments or questions about what I've shared here this morning too, or just how you are meeting this non-linear way of being, or how the linear has been operating for you. I'm just very curious to hear from you. So feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand function, which is at the bottom of the screen under reactions, I think. It's under reactions. So feel free to And I'll take about 15 minutes of that. We'll sit together in that. Let's see if I can see who's raised their hand.
I don't see any
Anyone?
hands. I don't see virtual hands. Oh, Cindy, go ahead.
Good afternoon. It's always so nice to see you, Lama Willa, and I appreciate this teaching so much right now, especially because I do really feel like I'm living mostly that way. Just right now for the winter. Winters in New England, I think, are beautiful conditions for that. And I'm over living over near Wonderwell now, and the land here in the winter is like living in a snow globe. Most days, anytime you look out a window, it's snowing. It may not be accumulating, but some form of snowflakes are just flying around, and it just catches you and and just stops you from whatever you're doing for a moment, or at least me. And then there's so much you're not able to do that you can do in the rest of the, in the climate the rest of the year that we do slow down here, in the winter. Um, so I really, really appreciate that. And um, I definitely would like to think more and practice more regarding the collective mind in timeless time and how to integrate, how to envision that on a collective scale. Um, so maybe a plug for your program tonight would um, might speak to that, which I'm looking forward to. So thank you very much.
Mm. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, that is what we're exploring through Revolutionary Dharma. That's a series that Cindy's referring to. It's called Revolutionary Dharma, and I'm doing that with Deborah Eden Tull. But yeah, that is what we're exploring for the year is how do we make the connection more broadly not just to the timeless now and the world's condition, which is very challenging at the moment. The world that we live in so many ways, is we live in very challenging times. And so, how do we draw that connection between the challenging times that we live in and our Dharma practice? Because our Dharma practice, in some ways, it holds so many potential wisdoms for the world and how can we start to develop a practice that connects our wisdom to the wisdom of our community and our wisdom, how do we bring it to bear on what we're witnessing too and envelop that into our practice because it's very easy to get dysregulated, isn't it, at this time especially, and so that dysregulation, we want to stay in touch with what's happening in the world. We want to know, we want to be responsible citizens of the world and take responsibility for what we can take responsibility for, and to change what we can, and to be aware of what we cannot change, right? And so, what do we do with all of that? And wanting to explore that. Yeah, thank you. You, Cindy. And thank you for also reflecting on the invitation that cold weather holds for coming into relationship with the timeless present too. Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of hibernation and the womb-like quality of winter that can be very powerful at this time, and as the days are darker. Yeah. Hmm.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question for all of you. Maybe just a question in case anyone wants to share this. Um, Maybe just like a couple of people, a couple of volunteers to like when you're in the present moment, because this I have these sort of little ways and techniques that I use with myself. Like you're in the present moment and you're very forward thinking. You're so I've been slowly living into a situation where I'm beginning to um, create a dwelling for myself here in in where I am now in Hawaii on the Big Island, and I've made a yurt, a tent, like a yurt. But I'm homesteading, we might say. I'm homesteading, and the process of that involves a lot of leaning into the future because I'm trying to get things like a kitchen to eat and a bathroom to bathe, which would seem rudimentary, but it's actually very complicated because it involves water and electricity and all those things. So anyway, I'm in a practical situation there. And I think a lot about the future. And when I've catch myself getting really into a spiral of worry and concern about, the next thing that needs to happen, um, I have, a way to slow myself down and to come present. I have a process, sort of a, a, a an order of thinking and then behaving and then changing and coming present. So I'm wondering if you have such a process, if one of you could describe your process. How do you come present when you're forward leaning? How do you come present when you're ruminating on the past and wishing, regretting and wishing things were different? If anyone wants to share your personal process. Yeah,
Um,
Tainter,
Hi.
Tainter.
Hi.
Hi.
It's so good to be here with you, and I really appreciate your thoughts this morning and meditating with the group, with the Sangha. Um, when, I love sky gazing that can, if I'm finding myself um, caught up in planning or start racing ahead of myself, to take a moment. And I live in a place where I can look at the sky with ease. And my current job has been, um, I'm on the road a lot in a vehicle transporting people. And so the sky is available. So that has been um, a, a tool for me. I think this morning it was sweeping the kitchen floor. you know, so it's a lot of possibilities, I think.
Hmm. Yes, the sky is always available. That's awesome. Yeah, that when you're having that swirling experience where you're just, really caught in something, caught in a story, and our stories are usually linear on a linear timeline, to be able to just look up and go, oh, now. Whoa. Yeah. Or sweeping the floor. Just want to point that one out. Yeah, how that can just be, oh, it's a simple, it's physical, it doesn't involve a lot of thinking. So housework can be powerful for bringing us into the timeless now. I want to say that too. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tainter. Yeah, that's a really good one. That's a really good one. And just on the heels of that, because I'm so enjoying that idea. Back a long time ago, when I was in my 20s, I had moved into a monastery, which I did in my 20s. I decided to turn to monastic life early on and to explore, it was a deep dive into the Dharma. And I was there at this monastery in upstate New York, and it was overseen by an abbot who was there, who was a Tibetan native from eastern Tibet who had crossed the Himalayas on foot in 1959 to escape the Cultural Revolution and to get out with his life, as many Tibetans did at that time, fearing imprisonment and death for various reasons. And so he escaped that way, very tough individual. So he was, anyway, running this monastery. He had founded this monastery on the Hudson River in New York. And I had come there, and one of the jobs that I got was, of course, I started at the bottom rung of the ladder. So I was the bathroom cleaner and the toilet cleaner. And then slowly over the months, I worked my way up to sweeping and cleaning the shrine room. And I would wake up every morning and go up to the shrine room and dust and vacuum and sweep. And I remember at that time I was having just a little frustration around, I was doing a lot of housework and feeling frustrated that I wasn't getting a chance to practice the Dharma, and that I was spending all this time serving and cleaning and uh, all kinds of tasks, but I wasn't having a lot of time to practice. So I brought this to this abbot, and the abbot told me a story um, about a monk who was sweeping the shrine room and woke up to reality, to the nature of his heart mind. He became enlightened in an instant while sweeping the shrine room. And that he said later that he realized that the whole of the Dharma is sweeping your karma, sweeping away your difficult patterns and processing and letting go of the difficult patterns. And that was this process of sweeping. And he had that realization while he was sweeping the shrine room, and he woke up in an instant with a broom in his hand. And it was just a lesson to me in, oh, this is a really good task for waking up too. That vacuuming and all the things that I had been kind of denigrating in my mind as useless activities are actually the path. It's the path. So yeah, Elder.
Thank you, Lama Villa. I wanted to name community. I find if I'm forward leaning or in some way growing despair, I find very helpful. I have this mental list of spiritual friends who I know are practicing being present, coming present. And so then I will just text or even call and remember that I'm not alone. And you have friends you can take showers with, and there is electricity in other places. Remembering caring community, I find very helpful when I've leaned forward. Thank you so much. This was a precious teaching.
Thank you, Hildur. Yeah, connecting, remembering we're not alone. Yeah, yeah. Moving us out of that process of leaning forward, coming present. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hildur. Yeah, so yeah, there's all the ways that we do that. And for myself, I think I pretty adequately describe, or I was, tried to describe, and maybe not so adequately, but tried in this teaching to talk about that, how to come present. But in reality, part of what brings me present, just a little more sort of quick technique way, is I just drop down into my feet, and when I'm feeling like I'm not fully present, how do I come present? I sometimes just come straight down, and I go all the way down to where my feet are touching the ground. And that brings me right home, because That is real. That is real. The relationship with the planet, my body's relationship with the planet just gets me here. That's happening right now. And I can really get, oh yeah, they're right here now with that little technique, just descent. Well, so good to be with you all this morning. Thank you so much for coming to Dharma Sunday. And I so look forward, and it's so great to see your faces. And, my heart is very open. And those of you down here, even without the camera on, I see your names. And I just send you so much care and love from here where I am. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and a wonderful week ahead. And also, wanting to just see you anytime that you want to come. I'll be here next month on the Dharma Sunday. I'll be participating in Revolutionary Dharma, which is also every Sunday or every month, once a month on a Sunday in the evening. So feel free to join me for that. And also for any upcoming programs and courses. It's so good to see you always. Much love. Much love to you.